Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and it is Wednesday, August 29th at 8:46 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope everyone is doing well. I do want to apologize because I am starting out behind with the Q post. I didn't have any intention of getting this far behind. Actually, I still have a couple posts from Monday night to go over that were posted after my last video. And then yesterday, I was gone most of the day, and when I got back, I thought, oh, no problem. There'll be one or two posts by Q. I'll be able to catch that up in no time. And then I looked at the posts from Q yesterday, and wow, probably the most that Q has ever posted in one day. Not sure what got into him, her, them, they, but I wish I had some, because there was a lot of posts, and there's been a lot of posts today as well. So having said that, I'm going to tell you this is going to take at least 2 videos just to get us caught up to yesterday. At least 2, possibly 3. There's a lot of material here. Now I am going to try and go through it a little quicker than I usually do, but I don't want to miss anything important, because I think that that's why a lot of people listen to me, because I do things in depth and don't just read the posts. So anyway, pitter patter, let's get at her. Let's start off with the ones from August 27th. That would have been Monday night, and I did miss a few, so here we go. And Q says, focus here. Now he's talking about this article right here that we've seen, because we saw it in the last of my videos. It was Sarah Carter, whistleblower exposes key player in FBI Russia probe. It was all a setup. And this, from this article, this is what Q wants us to focus on. He says, focus here. That's why we know. Raise troubling questions about Halper, who was believed to have worked with the CIA and part of the matrix of players in the Bureau's Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Halper, who assisted the FBI in the Russia investigation, appears to also have significant ties to Russian government, as well as sources connected directly to President Vladimir Putin. Define projection. Well, we have gone through this many times, so I'm not going to belabor that, but let's just say the Dems are guilty of the very thing that they are screaming at POTUS about. Whatever they're screaming the loudest about, that's what they seem to be guilty of. That's projection. The Democrats scream when POTUS meets with Putin. Yeah, they sure do. They scream bloody murder when POTUS met with Putin. They were not happy about it. They did everything within their power to stop it. Democrats demand to hold hearings with the interpreter used during the private POTUS-Putin meeting. Yeah, and all the while they were using the same interpreter. How do you like that? I don't like it at all. Democrats demand all meetings with Putin be canceled. Yes, they did. The nerve, all the time. They're the ones that are guilty of collusion. They are. But, oh no, they don't want POTUS to meet with Putin. Why not? Oh, maybe they're going to be found out. Maybe that's what they were afraid of. Now, if POTUS knows everything, control over what organizations are central to operational success? Well, he tells us. Number 1, the DOJ. Number 2, the FBI. Number 3, the NSA. And number 4, the U.S. military. These are the, sorry about that. Let me just, first day with the new hands. So 3, NSA. 4, U.S. military. Is this where I was? Yes, it is. Okay. 5, state. And 6, F_assets. And I would assume this means foreign assets, because it makes sense in the context of what we're talking about here. And you do have to look at the context. It's like people that pull verses out of the Bible, but they pull them out of context. They don't read everything that's around them. And that's when you get into trouble. And I think that it's just as important when we're reading these to keep what is being said in context so that we know we have a better chance of being able to decode accurately. So I would say that this is foreign assets. Ask yourself, if above are central to operational success, who would you pick to lead such organizations? Well, if all of these are essential to success, then if I was in charge, as POTUS is, then I would pick people that are clean, that don't have nasty skeletons in their closet, to lead those organizations. As far as I could, that's what I would do. And I would assume, since POTUS is a very intelligent man, that he would do the same. So underneath here, Q says, Hillary Rodham Clinton election loss equaled Clinton Foundation inflow stop. And why is that? Well, because of all the pay to play, right? It was all pay to play. And so, Hillary would make these deals and, they would inject money into the Clinton Foundation, and she would give them what they wanted, whatever it was, whether it was intel, whether it was plutonium, uranium, whatever. That's what she did, and they would make they would do the injection of cash into the Clinton Foundation, where it was easily laundered, very easily laundered, and probably what happened with the child trafficking as well. She provides the children, they provide the money to the Clinton Foundation, and it's a wonderful way to launder money. And I remember when I was investigating a couple of people actually, and doing very, very in-depth investigations into them, that's one thing that I found is that the best way to launder money, and that's why so many people in politics have these foundations, because it's the best way to launder money. Anyway, so Clinton Foundation inflow stop equals no name institute inflow ramp. So what Q is saying here is that, okay, Hillary Rodham Clinton lost the election. Therefore, she wasn't in any position to be promising anything to anyone. So the flow of cash stopped into the Clinton Foundation. So where did the cash go that would normally inflow into the Clinton Foundation? Well, it went into McCain's Institute, the McCain Institute. And that was the inflow ramp. And when something ramps up, of course, it increases. So it ramped up the inflow of cash into McCain's Institute. Why is that? Well, we know. Hillary Rodham Clinton wasn't in any place to do anything for anyone. And plus, there was too much heat on the Clinton Foundation. So the inflow stopped, but No Name Institute, that inflow ramped up. All right? Now, compare donors. Well, I wanted to let you see this because I think that this is very important. John McCain's foundation is funded by Saudis, Rothschilds, and Soros. Well, can anybody say they're surprised? Anybody? I didn't think so. All right. Senator John McCain has an eponymous foundation, the McCain Institute for International Leadership, that is less known and much smaller in scale, but rivals the Clinton Foundation in corruption. Note, don't confuse the McCain Institute with either. So this is actually talking about another institute, but Interestingly enough, it's just as corrupt. The philanthropic John and Cindy McCain Family Foundation that, according to nonprofitfacts.com, claimed a paltry $1,002 in income and $6,013 in assets in 2013, or the McCain Foundation, which has nothing to do with John McCain but was founded by McCain Foods. The Institute describes itself as a tax-exempt, nonprofit, and nonpartisan do tank, dedicated to advancing character-driven global leadership based on security, economic opportunity, freedom, and human dignity in the United States and around the world. Reporting for the Daily Caller on June 19, 2017, Richard Pollock writes that the Institute began with $9 million left over from McCain's failed 2008 presidential campaign and has become a huge operation featuring upward of 80 people, including dozens of full-time staff and board members. Associated with Arizona State University, the McCain Institute has assets valued at $8.1 million. So, critics worry that the Institute's donor and McCain's personal leadership in the organization's exclusive Sedona Forum bear an uncanny resemblance to the glitzy Clinton Global Initiative that annually commingled special interests and powerful political players in alleged pay-to-play schemes. So who exactly are McCain Institute donors? 1. Saudi Arabia. A WikiLeaks tweet says the McCain Institute is funded by the Saudis. Well. The WikiLeaks tweet is corroborated by a Bloomberg report in 2016 on a $1 million Saudi Arabian donation to the Institute, a contribution the McCain Group has refused to explain publicly. Does that surprise anyone? I didn't think so. Baxter Dimitri of Your Newswire observes that the secretive $1 million donation from Saudi Arabia looks suspiciously like a Clinton Foundation-style pay-to-play donation and explains why Senator McCain has certain viewpoints about the Middle East and keeps making secret trips to Syria. Saudi Arabia, as well as Israel, are adamantly opposed to Syria's Assad government and seek its overthrow by rebels who include al-Qaeda jihadists. More than that, according to the censored 28-page of the 9/11 Commission's report, the Saudi government was involved in the 9/11 attack. John F. Lehman, a Republican member of the 9/11 Commission, said, "There was an awful lot of participation by Saudi individuals in supporting the hijackers, and some of those people worked in the Saudi government. Our report should never have been read as an exoneration of Saudi Arabia." Excuse me. See, Congress releases classified 28 pages of 9/11 report. It's Saudi Arabia, but John McCain took $1 million in donations from the very same Saudi government. And number 2, the Rothschilds. Well, I am absolutely flabbergasted. No, I'm not. According to the above referenced WikiLeaks tweet, as well as the McCain Institute staff members page, Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, a buddy of the Clintons, is a trustee of the McCain Institute. Well, imagine that. The involvement of the Rothschilds goes beyond Lynn being an institute trustee. John McCain has been accused of accepting improper campaign donations from the Rothschilds. U.S. political campaigns are forbidden from accepting contributions from foreign nationals. According to the nonpartisan citizens watchdog group Judicial Watch, via The Guardian, in 2008, John McCain violated election laws by accepting campaign contributions from 2 non-U.S. nationals. At issue is a fundraising luncheon held in March at London's Spencer House during McCain's swing through the United Kingdom. An invitation to the event lists Lord Rothschild and Nathaniel Rothschild as hosts and indicates the event was made possible with their kind permission. Tickets to the luncheon cost $1,000 to $2,300. I'm wondering what they're serving for that. Not sure. Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton said the question is whether or not the Rothschilds paid for the event, the venue, the catering, or any other related costs. Okay, number 3, George Soros and Clinton crony. According to Richard Pollock of the Daily Caller, the McCain Institute has also accepted contributions as much as $100,000 from billionaire liberal activist funder George Soros and from Teneo, a for-profit global strategies company founded by a Clinton crony named Doug Band, who was Bill Clinton's bagman, as Pollock put it. Teneo has long helped enrich Bill Clinton through lucrative speaking and business deals. Pollock says McCain and Soros became friends after the senator was exposed as a member of the Keating Five in the savings and loan industry scandal that erupted during George H.W. Bush's administration. As the Saving and Loans Bank chairman, Charles Keating has paid $1.3 million to bribe 5 members of Congress, including McCain, to interfere with government regulators on behalf of the savings bank. The experience so scared McCain that he became a vigorous advocate of campaign finance reform and in the process reportedly became friends with Soros, the thoroughly evil funder of black riots here in the United States and of the Muslim invasion in Europe. And number 4, the Moroccan government. According to Pollock, the McCain Institute has also taken at least $100,000 in donations from OCP SA, a Moroccan state-owned phosphate company operating in Western Sahara, which repeatedly has been accused of worker abuse and exploitation. Morocco seized Western Sahara in 1975 and has since occupied the region by force in defiance of UN resolutions and legal declarations by other international bodies. Human rights groups, including the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice, say Morocco's state-owned companies, including OCP, subject its workforce to gruesome conditions while exploiting Western Sahara's national resources, especially phosphate, Morocco's white gold that is used to make fertilizer. The Western Sahara holds half of the world's phosphate reserves. The King of Morocco was also a major donor to the Clinton Foundation. Hillary Clinton personally accepted $12 million from the king in return for holding a CGI, the Clinton Foundation, Clinton's Global Initiative, regional meeting in Morocco. OCP, the Moroccan state-owned phosphate company that donated $100,000 to the McCain Institute, was a major sponsor of the CGI meeting, and Bill Clinton was the featured speaker. Well, naturally. Let's go on and see. And then there's the Pro-Iran Foundation. Pollock reports that the McCain Institute has accepted at least $100,000 from the Pro-Iranian Pivotal Foundation, founded by Francis Najafi, who owns the private equity and real estate firm Pivotal Group. And let's go on because I don't want to get into all this. Senator McCain's involvement with Iran lobbyist NIAC is troublesome. And what else do we have here? I think that gives us a pretty good idea of the types of people that are contributing to the foundation. All right, so compare donors. Well, aside from this, I wanted you to look at this. And I'm not going to go into all the donors because I don't think that's necessary at this point. McCain Institute donors looks disturbingly similar to Clinton Foundation, Soros, Teneo, Saudi Arabia. So I'm not going to go through all of this and read all this, but the donor, it's very similar. Now, it would be interesting to look at all of the donors in great depth, but of course we don't have the time to do that. That would be a very interesting study though, and I am sure that the powers that be are probably doing that. Now, let's go back. So we know that they have the same donors, so it would make sense that if the inflow into the Clinton Foundation stopped, that the McCain's Institute inflow would ramp up. And then Q says, define dark money. According to Wikipedia, dark money is funds given to nonprofit organizations that can receive unlimited donations from corporations, individuals, and unions. The nonprofit organizations can spend funds to influence elections, but are not required to disclose their donors. So this is perhaps why, they make these nonprofit organizations, because they can receive unlimited donations from corporations, individuals, unions, whoever the heck they want, and they can spend these to influence elections, but they don't have to, to disclose anything to their donors. That's interesting. So if you've been giving money to the Clinton Foundation, thinking that they're doing all this good stuff all over the world, that's probably gone towards getting Hillary elected. Not that it did any good, but just saying. Probably went to fund the the Steele dossier. Okay, direct correlation. Well, of course there's a direct correlation. Now, this is interesting. So there's a direct correlation between the Clinton Foundation and the McCain Institute, and then Q goes into this. He did not depart on his own terms. Now, remember, Cindy McCain said that John McCain had departed on his own terms, which led me to feel that perhaps he took his own life, or or was assisted in taking his own life with perhaps morphine or whatever, is what they do for palliative care. But here's the thing. According to Q, John McCain didn't have cancer. So what do we do with that? I don't know. So that leaves one of two things, right? Okay, it was not a natural death, because if it was a natural death, it would not, I don't think Cindy would say that he departed on his own terms. And even if he did have cancer, you don't just stop treatment one day and then die the next. That just doesn't make sense. And he did not depart on his own terms. I don't know. I don't think it was suicide I guess it could have been. I don't know. He did not depart on his own terms. So if it was suicide, that would be departing on your own terms, wouldn't it? So I'm puzzling over this, because Q knew that he was going to die. He knew roughly the day that he was going to die, and he predicted it, so to speak. So how did he know? Was there some sort of deadline that he had to reach, or something was going to come out? I don't know. Did he commit suicide to avoid that? Was he taken to Gitmo? Is all of this a ruse? I don't know. I really don't know. But I really don't think that they could have had, a military tribunal and executed him, because, for one, the tribunals are not scheduled until, or we were told that they will start in January. So, and I don't see how they could do that without letting anybody know. I don't know. I'd be interested in what you guys think. So let me put this. Let me put it this way. I'm interested in what you guys think, but I don't think anybody has the right answer. I really don't. Not yet. Maybe somebody does and just kind of hits on it, but I don't think, from what Q has provided us so far, I don't think we can with without reservation, be able to say exactly what happened, beyond a reasonable doubt. So he says, think Flynn, 30, exactly 30. And it was exactly 30, because if you count in between the days, now some people have said, no, it was 31 days, or no, it wasn't. It was actually 30. If you count in between the days that were posted, it was 30 days. Now, I don't think he's talking about Flynn here. Call me crazy. No, don't. That's mean. Don't call me crazy. Think Flynn. Well, what if we separated this? Fly, N-N. Fly, N-N. Fly, no name. Isn't that what he always calls them? Right? Fly, no name. 30. What if when Q posted, this meant that he was going to fly, no name was going to fly in 30 days. And they announced his death, but he's really not dead. He's in Gitmo. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. All right? Now, this is another one where it says done in 30, but this was regarding Flynn, and I don't think that what was done in 30, because that was April 27th, and I don't think that this came to pass. So I'm a little bit confused about this whole 30 thing. I really am. And I have seen from others that they are as well, so I don't feel quite so bad. I just don't think that we've got the proper interpretation yet. That's what I think. And nobody can convince me that we do. Now, if you have a theory and want to put it forth, then we can all, entertain that and look and consider, because I don't think anyone really knows at this point. But I don't know. Be interesting to discuss it anyway. All right, now Q here is responding to his own post, and beneath it he says, think for yourself, research for yourself, trust yourself. Clickbait opinions are designed to attract reader to subscribe and or follow and or shape a pre-designed narrative. Follow the facts, sheep no more. And, I've seen this out there too. People will make these sensational claims based on something that they think that Q is saying, and it's clickbait. Because really, if you think for yourself, and you have to take into consideration all of Q. I don't think you can just pull a post out from the bunch of them and say, oh, this is what this means. You have to consider all the other posts that went before it, that come after it, and so forth. So Q is saying, think for yourself, research for yourself, and we should be doing that. We should not be, you can listen to other people's opinions, but at the end of the day, I give my opinion. I try to base it as much as possible on fact, but at the end of the day, you still have to decide whether, that's reasonable, or no, I don't think so. And I can be wrong, and you can be wrong. That's why it takes all of us looking at this stuff, and I've said that many times. So let's go on. And then we have this by Q, and he said, witch hunt, no deals, Q. And Q has said that before. We know that this is a witch hunt, and he says no deals. There's not going to be any deals reached. Q. All right. Now, this is the next one from August 27th. Can't believe we're still on Monday night. And if you haven't already seen the barrage of posts from yesterday, you will be shocked, because there's a Anyway, let's just keep plugging along. So Q here makes reference to this anon, and this anon posted this from Mark Meadows' Twitter page, and Mark Meadows said, "We've learned new information suggesting our suspicions are true. FBI/DOJ have previously linked info to the press and then used those same press stories as a separate source to justify FISAs. Unreal. Tomorrow, Bruce Orr interview is even more critical. Did he ever do this?" And this anon says, "Unreal. Tomorrow's Bruce Orr interview is even more critical. Did he ever do this?" Meaning, did he ever leak info to the press and then use those same press stories as a separate source to justify FISAs? And Q responds just by acknowledging this. So Q acknowledges that what this anon has said is right. And well, I think I missed something. Yes, I did. Now, this is from Lou Dobbs. End witch hunt at Jim Jordan. Nellie Orr gave the Fusion GPS dossier to Bruce Orr, who gave it to the FBI so the FBI could get a warrant to spy on Donald Trump, the Donald Trump campaign. This is the biggest abuse of power I've ever seen. And I would tend to agree with that. It's pretty colossal in its nefariousness. All right, let's look at this. I'm not sure why oh, yes. Now, what is this again? These are, what are these? Oh, I know. This is from somebody that was actually in the closed door meeting. So they were kind of giving a blow by blow. Let's see, Bruce Orr asked if Trump committed treason. Dems flipped out right out of the gate. Why would Bruce be asking questions? He posed a rhetorical question, answer which he answered no. Legal philosophizing. Bruce said he'd had dinner with Mueller several times, discussed Trump once briefly. Bruce is coming clean. Seems he just caught up. He just caught up in the political fever, and it took a life of its own. So there's a lot of these, and because of the voluminous nature of the posts, I can't read all this. It would be ridiculous. But it is on Reddit under Great Awakening, so probably not too hard to find if you look for it. So let's go on, because we can. Now, this is still the 27th. Imagine that. Now, Q, let me see here. All right. Is responding to an anon, and I believe it's responding to 427, sorry, this, okay? So Q is responding to this and adding more to it, and he's saying Bruce Orr to the UK, to Australia, Australia to UK, to Bruce Orr to Alexander Downey, Five Eye, X1. I don't know if he's saying example one. Okay, now let's let's see here. So Bruce Orr gave information to the UK, which gave it to the Australians. The Australians gave it to the UK, who gave it to Bruce Orr. Bruce Orr gave it to Alexander Downey. Five Eye. Okay, now let's take a look at this. Oops. I believe this is my link here. Yeah. Alexander Downer, the gaffe-prone conservative and unlikely anti-Trump hero. A photo of the former Australian MP wearing fishnet stockings already ensured political immortality. He is the current champion of anti-Trump supporters and American liberals, but Alexander Downer's elevation to international hero may prove more than amusing for many Australians. A former foreign affairs minister in the conservative Howard government, Downer, known privately for his sense of humor, became best known for agreeing to pose for a photo wearing a pair of fishnet stockings and high heels for a charity promotion in 1996. The photo was never forgotten and continued to follow him for the rest of his political career, including the 11 years he spent as Australia's longest-serving foreign affairs minister and his appointment as Australia's man in Britain, 4 decades after his father, Sir Alexander Downer, filled the same role. A staunch supporter of the Iraq War, Downer pushed for Australia's involvement, delivering a speech in Parliament in February 2003 that called for Australia to act. Now, I'm not going to go into all of this. I just wanted to give a little, blip about who he is. And let's go back to see what Q has to tell us. He says, fake news blast, narrative shift necessary. Now, I'm not going to go into all of these and read them. I know you're going, whew, thank you. But I am going to show you some of the titles so that we will know what it is concerning that Q is telling us is the false narrative that they're pushing now. Tony Blair claims he warned Trump of UK spying, complete fabrication. So the former British spy minister denies he was offered a job by Trump aides. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair on Thursday rejected claims he warned Donald Trump's aides that they and Trump were under surveillance by British spies during the U.S. election campaign, calling the allegations complete fabrication, literally from beginning to end. A new book called Fire and Fury by author Michael Wolff reportedly claims Blair warned the president's aides about British intelligence services having the U.S. election campaign in 2016 under surveillance, according to The Times. The former British Prime Minister told the BBC's Today program Thursday that the claims were not correct. Blair did say that he had met Jared Kushner, the U.S. president's son-in-law, but stated the meetings were to discuss the Middle East peace process. Blair denied he had been angling for a job, which the book is said to describe as a post-election Middle East advisor role. He said he hadn't sought one and had not been offered one. Separately, Blair has written an essay in which he refers to Brexit as an error the contemporary world cannot understand and the generations of the future will not forgive. So, not going to read all of that. I just wanted to read enough of it that we understood. And let's look at another here. And this one says, complete invention. Blair denies telling Trump UK may have spied on him. All right. Not going to read all that. So let's go back. Had to give my arm a scratch. Sometimes you do. All right, now let's look at this. We're not going to look at every single one of these either. Tony Blair warned Donald Trump the UK may have spied on him. Michael Wolff alleges ex-PM said UK spies could be monitoring communications and possibly even Trump himself. They're all kind of the same thing, aren't they? And what's this? This is from The Sun. Tony Blair, British spooks Donald Trump warning. Telegraph. Tony Blair warned Trump aides Britain may have spied election. Daily Mail, Blair warned Trump aides a British intelligence spied on them. Mirror, Tony Blair warned Donald Trump. Metro, Blair denies warning Trump UK intelligence agencies may have spied. BBC, let's look at this because we can. The papers. Newspaper headlines. Blair warned Trump over UK spying. Many headlines focus on the bitter row between President Trump and his former advisor, Steve Bannon. Okay, so basically this is the same. Alrighty, let's go back. And what is this? Probably much of the same. Claim, Trump aide warned of UK spying observed, says Tony Blair. And Irish Times News, Tony Blair denies warning Trump that UK may have spied on him. Express.co.uk, Donald Trump, Tony Blair, job, Middle East, Jared Kushner, Michael Wolff book, Iraq War. Okay, so Bruce Orr unlocks the UK/foreign intel via Five Eye. So Bruce Orr unlocks the UK foreign intel, Five Eye. UK foreign intel unlocks requisition. Five Eyes intel unlocks requisition requests from whoever had clearance and wanted info. Okay? So UK/foreign intel unlocks requisition requests from whoever had the clearance and wanted them. Requisition request, think highest levels. Someone at the highest levels requested the info. So the highest levels. Probably Obama, I would assume. Maybe even someone high in the British government. We don't know who all is involved. Focus 2. This is the case with Helper, who is now proven to be a spy, possibly with Australian ambassador Alexander Downer, who her husband met with in London. And this is from the same article, Sarah Carter, whistleblower exposes key player in FBI Russia probe. It was all a setup. Okay, so having Bruce Orr's testimony behind closed doors necessary. Bruce Orr, closed door, necessary. It's necessary to meet with Bruce Orr behind closed doors, probably for national security reasons. Red-handed communications revealed to encourage truthful testimony. So what Q is saying here is that Bruce Orr is more likely to be truthful because he knows they have the information anyway. And that's why, the red-handed communications have been revealed, because this will encourage him to be truthful. Because if you've been, accused of a crime, say, and you go in and you know that the police already have all the info, you're not doing yourself any favors by lying, are you? No, it encourages you to be more truthful so that they'll go easy on you. I mean, okay, not that I've ever been in that situation, but, everyone watches TV from time to time. All right, so 19 phone calls today. Now, this is the 27th. 19 phone calls today. between DC, UK, and Australia. Panic? 19, okay. I don't know why I think I put this there, and I'm not sure why, because it's like, it didn't really need to be interpreted, did it? I mean, it's pretty obvious what he's talking about. I don't know why I do things like that. I don't know. Anyway, I can't even make it red. Make it red. Red. Be red, she said. All right. Who are the firewalls? Not what are the firewalls. Who? The firewalls are people, obviously. And the firewalls are the signers of the FISA application. At least that's my interpretation. Because, and I base that on previous Q drops. What will the fake news push tomorrow? Well, I think that he's probably looking for a specific answer there, and one, you know, who knows? Who knows what they're going to push tomorrow? But I'm sure they'll be pushing something. If you know what he means for this, because I'm sure that Q has an answer, or he wouldn't have asked it, but or perhaps it's just rhetorical, like, what are they going to push tomorrow? Could be, not sure. Anyway, let's move on. There was a lot of meat in that post. Good meat. Like Black Angus, something like that. That kind of meat. Okay, now we're still on the 27th, believe it or not, and Q is making reference to his own post right here, and beneath it, he puts this. And somebody told me, because I really wasn't sure, but I guess this is supposed to be hua? I don't know. Somebody in the that was in the military told me that the emphasis is on the last two. I can't do it. I can't do like an army grunt like that. I just can't. But you all know what this means, and you've seen it before, and you probably all know how to pronounce it, and it's probably just me. But I'm over it. All right. Now, we're on to August 28th. Woohoo! We should have like a little celebration. Do you want me to bake a cake? That would take too much time. All right. Now, let's see here. I cannot go out to these YouTubes because every time I do that, they will give me a copyright strike. So what I did is this. Now, okay. Is that this one or this one? Here we go. This is what this is. It's a link to, if you've seen the movie, The Sum of All Fears, this is a scene from that movie. So, this is what is being said. Dressler, to his sympathizers, is saying, most people believe that the 20th century was a death struggle between communism and capitalism, and that fascism was but a hiccup. But today, we know better. Communism was a fool's errand. The followers of Marx gone from this earth, but the followers of Hitler abound and thrive. Hitler, however, had one great disadvantage. He lived in a time when fascism, like a virus, like the AIDS virus, needed a strong host in order to spread. Germany was that host. But Germany did not prevail. The world was too big. Fortunately, the world has changed. Global communications, cable TV, the internet. Today, the world is smaller, and a virus does not need a strong host in order to spread. The virus is airborne. One more thing. Let no man call us crazy. They called Hitler crazy. But Hitler was not crazy. He was stupid. You don't fight Russia and America. You get Russia and America to fight each other and destroy each other. Now, that is an old movie, but this is so applicable to today. I mean, so applicable to today. And isn't that exactly what's happening? Because communism hasn't gone away. I mean, Hitler, Nazism hasn't gone away. Rather, it's still there. And the other thing is that I notice here, Hitler was not crazy. He was stupid. You don't fight Russia and America. You get Russia and America to fight each other and destroy each other. Now, you've got Trump trying to, offer the an olive branch to Russia. I mean, it is only to our advantage if we are friends with Russia and cooperate with them, right? The two superpowers. Well, I guess China's a superpower too, but you would assume that would be the best thing for the world, as if Russia and America get along. But you've got the New World Order and the deep state and the cabal want the exact opposite, right? Exactly. So now let's look at this. And okay, now this again, I had to look at this for a minute because I wasn't sure. It's another scene from The Sum of All Fears, but I can't play it to you because it's copyrighted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the part in the movie that this is discussing. Okay, this right here. You can go out and watch it for yourself. It's in the Cube Drops, but I want to talk about what part of the movie that it's discussing, because that movie, and if you've never seen it, you should see it. It's a very good movie. It really is. It's well done, and it's very applicable to today. Okay, afterwards, during the nuclear plant facility inspection in the birthplace of the first Russian atomic bomb, Ryan asked why 3 of the 17 senior Russian nuclear scientists were not present. Now, this is in the plot of this movie. Grishkov quickly answered that the 3, Milanov, Orlov, and Spassky, were respectively sick, on vacation, and Spassky was killed in a recent car accident. In Haifa, Israel, Olson observed as a large wooden crate carrying the nuclear bomb was loaded onto a Russian freighter bound for the Ukraine. On their way home, Ryan and Cabot received more information about the 3 scientists. Each one was a specialist in fission bomb detonators, the nuclear core itself, and the explosive itself. Exact 3 men you would need if you wanted to build a bomb. Cabot called Grishkov's excuses for their absence lies. He believed that the Russians had no idea of their whereabouts. Cabot divulged he had a secret source inside the Kremlin, codename Spinnaker. We keep the back channels open in hopes of staving off disaster. Cabot's covert informant was Khrushchev. When they arrived in Washington, Cabot spoke briefly to one of his CIA operatives, John Clark, Liev Scribner, instructing him to find the location of the 3 missing nuclear scientists. Now, the part that Q wants us to focus on is this. We keep the back channels open in hopes of staving off disaster. Okay? So, these are the 2 links that Q wanted us to look at, and then he says, he asks us, was Nazism ever truly destroyed? No, it wasn't. Now, if you had asked me that probably 10 years ago, and I am someone that has studied extensively World War II, I've just always been very interested in it, but when I started to go back and take another look in light of being awakened, I came to a very different conclusion. And Nazism is alive and well on planet Earth. Was it merely a subdivision within a larger organization? Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. I believe that this has been a plot. I don't know how old the plot is, but there's been a plot afoot for generations. Many, many, many generations. One finger attached to a hand. Yes, that's what Nazism was. It's one finger attached to a hand. It's like when I describe the New World Order to people, I always describe it as an octopus, because you've got all these different tentacles, and you might have a hold of a tentacle and think that's it. But no, you might think all of these tentacles are separate, but it all goes back to the same head, and it's the same. Nazism is a finger of a hand, but all those different fingers belong to the same hand. Now, did Antifa organically form? No. And when he says organically form, he means did that just come about on its own? Like some organizations do, many organizations do. No, it was planned and implemented and funded. It was not organically formed. It didn't just spring up out of nowhere. Flag design, coincidence? Of course it's not a coincidence. How could that be a coincidence? They're identical, really. I mean, aside from a few minor differences, the flag design is identical. Socialist push in the US and worldwide, coincidence? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Global power struggle, and that's what we're in. We are in a global power struggle, and we are in a global power struggle to the death. Really. Now, Q says, there's a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. Now, that leads me to this, or leads, Q puts two links here to two additional YouTube videos. Now, the first one, and again, I can't play it, but I can read it, and that is this. For heaven's sakes. Okay, this is from Ronald Reagan's "We Must Fight the Evil" speech, okay? And you can find this on YouTube for yourself. It's from Ronald Reagan's speech, "A Time for Choosing," delivered on the 27th of October, 1964. Let's set the record straight. There is no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there is only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there is a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson in history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement, and this is the specter of our well-meaning liberal friends. This is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement, and it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, then eventually we will have to face the final demand, the ultimatum, and what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be, he has told them that we are retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday when our time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time we will have weakened from within, spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he has heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better red than dead, or as one commentator put it, he would rather live on his knees than die on his feet. and therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools, and our honored dead who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said that the destiny of man is not measured by material computation. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we are spirits, not animals. And he said there is something going on in time and space and beyond time and space which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. Wow, that speech is unbelievable. Given by one of this earth's best orators, no doubt. Now, this is a video that we have watched countless times, and that you can find it online on YouTube, and it's entitled "This Video Will Get Donald Trump Elected." And I've seen it many times, but again, because of the music in it, it is copyrighted, and so you will have to watch that on your own. And beneath that, Q says, "We, the people." Q. Now, the next, from August 28th, is this, and Q is giving us a link that he wants us to go out to, and so that's what we're going to do. GOP rep touches off firestorm with claim FBI leaked info used stories to get FISA warrants. Hang on here. I don't want this to start because it will. Hang on.
But new information.
Oh, I might as well just play it.
Discovered by Judicial Watch, showing the involvement of the FBI in helping push the Trump dossier, which you'll remember was largely funded by the Clinton campaign and was filled with Russian disinformation that was meant to discredit not Hillary Clinton, but Mr. Trump. So is Mr. Mueller investigating that side of the Russian collusion story? Here now is Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch President. Tom, great to see you. Let's first talk about what you got. It was heavily redacted, but does it show definitively that the FBI was actually paying one of the authors of the Trump dossier?
Well, Christopher Steele, who was hired by Fusion GPS, who had been hired by the Clinton campaign and DNC, met with the FBI at least 13 times in 2016. 11 of those times resulted in payments to Mr. Steele. So in the middle of the Clinton-Trump campaign, the Clinton agent for Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele, who was talking to Russia intelligence about Trump supposedly, was meeting repeatedly with the FBI.
Well,
now,
Tom,
they don't give us details about those meetings, though.
This is what Bob Mueller was set up to do, was to investigate real Russian collusion. This seems to be far more credible as evidence of Russian collusion than anything that the Trump campaign did.
Well, you know, and as disturbingly, in November, they deemed him not useful as a confidential human source anymore. Yet they continued to tell the court his information was reliable in terms of getting those FISA warrants, spy warrants, on Carter Page and the Trump team. Real abuse, and I think the FBI, who at the FBI was meeting with him, we don't know. Was it
right.
Peter Strzok? Did James Comey know that that this Clinton campaign agent was in the FBI at least a dozen times in 2016, and that doesn't count the times he and his people were meeting through his wife Nellie Orr, Bruce Orr, at the Justice Department after he was cut off supposedly by the FBI.
Well, there's another point. Tom. Forgive me for interrupting, but this meeting that everybody's talking about between Donald Trump Jr. and the Russian agent, that Russian agent met before and after the Trump Jr. meeting with members of Fusion GPS. What was that all about? I mean, if there was collusion between her and the Trump campaign, there was also collusion between her and the Hillary campaign through Fusion.
Fusion GPS was working for Russian fronts to discredit a critic of the Putin regime, and the lawyer involved in that effort was the lawyer behind the meeting at Trump Tower. It's just, it's mind-boggling what went on, and for the Mueller operation to focus solely on Trump collusion shows you that there's this politicization of the special counsel operation.
Tom, I have to jump to the final point because we heard Adam Schiff at the beginning suggest that the Russians are now interfering on Donald Trump's side with the 2018 midterm elections. But if anything, it's exactly the opposite again. We got that Facebook story last week. They took down some of the sites that clearly had some apparently Russian influence in them, and they were anti-Trump. There was one showing Donald Trump screaming in front of a Nazi flag. That's one of the ones that was taken down. There are others that send protesters to anti-ICE rallies. If there was Russian collusion with anybody in the United States, it was against Trump, not in favor of him.
You know, there's this idea that they want to divide America. No, they want to attack our government. They're attacking the Trump administration. During the campaign, they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, and they attacked the Hillary Clinton campaign, knowing or thinking, like everyone else in America, or many people in America, that she was going to become president. The Russians are interested in undermining our government. And they were doing it in 2016. They're doing it again.
That's the bottom line. No matter who they have to go after, they're just trying to undermine our government and our way of life. Tom Fitton.
All right. And that's the entirety of that post. So let's go up here to the next. And Q says, watch Iran. Something incredible is about to happen. Hassan Rouhani, the good people of Iran have the power. Fight for your freedom. So, these are, I think these are, they are my not cues. These are my, links because I wanted us to understand. Wow, a stunning admission by the president of Iran's regime about the effects of the Iran protests and real Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the Iran deal. Source, official IRNA news agency, Rouhani's remarks to Parliament, 28th of August, 2018. All of a sudden, people's perception of Iran's future changed. People have become doubtful about Iran's future. Even worse, some have started to doubt our system's grandeur, strength, growth, and future development. The date of this change was December 26, 2017, when people suddenly saw that some were chanting on the streets and the slogans soon went out of bounds. The events of December and January encouraged Mr. Trump to declare in mid-January that he would not remain in the JCPOA. His threat of withdrawal and the domestic turbulence and international threats frightened the people. So let's go back here. Not there. I just want us to get an idea of why Q is saying this, to watch Iran. Something incredible is about to happen. Hassan Rouhani. Now, let's go to this. Iran's Rouhani questioned in Parliament. President Hassan Rouhani blamed Iran's economic woes on an American conspiracy during a grilling by Parliament. Iran's parliament has declared its dissatisfaction with President Hassan Rouhani, voting to reject his answers after grilling him over the deteriorating economy. Rouhani's appearance in parliament on Tuesday was the first time he had been summoned by parliament in his 5 years in power. Members of parliament demanded explanations for unemployment, rising prices, and the sharp depreciation of the rial, which has lost more than half of its value since April. The MPs, who have already impeached his labor and economy ministers this month, were unimpressed with his answers. In votes at the end of the session, they expressed dissatisfaction with Rouhani's responses to 4 of their 5 questions on the economy, which will now be referred to the judiciary for review. There were conflicting reports about what would follow from the vote. Several Iranian news agencies said Rouhani's case would now be referred to the judiciary, although the spokesman for the parliamentary leadership, Behrouz Nemadi, said the PMs needed to hold further discussions before that would take place. Rouhani has been under intense pressure since U.S. President Donald Trump withdrew from a landmark nuclear deal between Iran and several world powers, worsening an economic crisis and sparking a series of domestic protests. In Tuesday's session, he blamed Iran's economic woes on an American conspiracy and urged Parliament to support his cabinet. There is an anti-Iran group sitting in the White House that is planning a conspiracy against us, Rouhani said, but together we will tackle this phase. It should not be said we are facing a crisis. There is no crisis. If we say there is, it will become a problem for society and a threat, he said. While Rouhani and his cabinet run Iran's day-to-day affairs, ultimate authority lies with the supreme leader, 79-year-old Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in power since 1989, weakening the pragmatics, now could affect the successor chosen to follow Khamenei. For now, Rouhani's own position appears safe. The judiciary may determine that he broke the law and Parliament has the power to impeach him, but experts on Iranian politics say power struggles are more likely to play out indirectly. The Parliament's move is politically motivated and indicates that tensions would increase in the Islamic Republic in coming months. Saeed Leilaz, an Iranian economist, told Reuters by telephone from Tehran, Iranian political factions have always used international issues to pursue their domestic gains. So, let's look at, let me see. Let's look at this. Iran's Khamenei says Europe cannot save nuclear deal or help economy. So wanted to show you that. And one more. Iran's Khamenei says nuclear deal cannot be abandoned if does not Iran's Khamenei says nuclear deal can be abandoned if does not serve interests. So that's interesting. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, says Iran could abandon its nuclear accord with world powers after the U.S. withdrawal if it does not serve its interests, casting doubts on negotiations with European countries to salvage the deal. So there you go. And we are going to go on now to the next post. A lot of these posts from yesterday, I'm not sure about today's, but yesterday's posts, wow, there was a lot of meat in them. A lot of meat. So, all right, now this is the next one, August 28th. This is from yesterday again, 11:56 Eastern Time. FISA, ABCs, and by ABCs, they're talking about the CIA, the DOJ, the FBI, that's the ABCs. FISA, ABCs versus INSCOM. which is the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command, which is a direct reporting unit that conducts intelligence, security, and information operations for U.S. Army commanders and national decision makers. Okay, so the FISA is the CIA, FBI, DOJ versus the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command. All right, now, beneath that, Q says no foreign. The statement of no foreign, meaning no foreign nationals, is applied to any information that may not be released to any non-U.S. citizen. No foreign and distribution statements are often used in conjunction with classified information or alone on SBU information. So then Q says, NSA, INSCOM, bridge. So there is a data bridge between the Army Intelligence and the NSA. FISA equals FISC. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978 is a United States federal law which establishes procedures for the physical and electronic surveillance and collection of foreign intelligence. And what Q is saying is this is equal to the United States Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which is a U.S. federal court established and authorized under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978 to oversee requests for surveillance. Oops, this should be, this is Q's words, not mine right here. So it should be in black. Now, so Q is saying FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, really is or equal to the FISC, the United States Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, because they're the ones authorized under the Act to oversee these requests for surveillance. Now, who is accountable to Congress? And then it says civilian body. And I had meant to come back to this because I didn't know, and I had meant to come back to this and look into it a little bit further, and then I didn't. And so if any of you guys know the answer to this, please put it in the comments below. Who is accountable to Congress? A civilian body. I'm not sure at this point exactly who that would be. So I need to look into that further, but if you know, you could save us all a lot of time and put it in the comments below, because I know I certainly read the comments, and I know a lot of you do as well. Okay, and then the next, define state secrets. A sensitive issue or piece of information that is kept secret by the government, usually to protect the public. And that's what a state secret is. It's a sensitive issue or a piece of information that has to be kept, private, secret, to protect the public, or usually to protect the public. And then Q asks us, process of obtaining a FISA warrant. Well, I was going to go here, but I'm not going to, because this is very long. And really what Q is asking is answered in these two below. So what must be demonstrated to be granted? So what do they have to demonstrate in order to have a FISA warrant granted by the court? There must be grounds, probable cause. Once evidence has been accumulated, the information must be outlined in an affidavit and application stating the grounds for the FISA warrant. Okay, so you have to have grounds, you have to have probable cause, and it all has to be outlined in an affidavit and a formal application stating what these grounds are, and that's in order to be able to gain a FISA warrant for surveillance. Who must sign off? The application goes through the FBI chain of command before making its way to FBI headquarters to receive approval and sign off by the special agent in charge of the field office before making it to the Justice Department, where attorneys from the National Security Division... I lost my place here, just hang on. Where was I? Okay, right here. The application goes through the FBI chain of command before making its way to the FBI headquarters to receive approval and sign off by the special agent in charge of the field office before making it to the Justice Department, where attorneys from the National Security Division vet the application to verify all the assertions made, or the assertions made in it. Which makes sense. It makes sense that there should be that long of, that it must go through all of this chain of command, because that way the chances of it, being whatever, like what happened should never have happened. If it was properly vetted, it should never have happened. We know that. So anyway, the last person that it goes to before making it to the Justice Department, where attorneys from the National Security Division vet the application to verify the assertions made in it. The memo states that former FBI Director James Comey, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, former Deputy Director of the FBI Andrew McCabe, and former Attorney General Sally Yates were all required to sign off on the FISC warrant application before it was reviewed and ultimately approved. Now, can select individuals in senior positions of power be shadow banned from active FISA warrants / surveillance? Now, what that means is, can people in senior positions of power who they deem as maybe they might be hostile to granting that warrant, would they be able to be shadow banned? Meaning, would information be able to be withheld from them so that they don't know exactly what the FISA warrant is about, or even that it exists? Is that possible? Can they be? Well, not legally. Not legally. And then Q says national security. Attorneys from the National Security Division must vet the application to verify assertions. So, sufficient, now, this is Q, sufficient evidence shown to demonstrate rogue elements of intelligence apparatus illegally violated FISA law tenets in coordinated effort with domestic and foreign allies to impact, modify the outcome of the 2016 presidential election and safeguard against future uncovering of their crimes or criminal prosecution. Yes, that's exactly what happened. There were rogue elements of the intelligence apparatus. They illegally violated FISA law tenets. It was a coordinated effort with domestic and foreign allies to impact and modify the outcome of the 2016 presidential election and safeguard against the future uncovering of their crimes and forcing criminal prosecution. Because they weren't stupid. They knew that if Donald Trump got in, what was it that Hillary said? We'd all hang from nooses? Why would she say such a thing? She must know. She knows. She knows that what they did is highly illegal, that it's treason, that she deserves to swing from a noose for what she did. Who must sign off on FISA warrants? The application goes through the FBI chain of command before making its way to FBI headquarters to receive approval and sign off by the special agent in charge of the field office before making it to the Justice Department, where attorneys from the National Security Division vet the application to verify all the assertions made in it, which is the same. Who directs the signers? Attorneys from the National Security Division, the United States Department of Justice National Security Division, the NSD, is the division of the DOJ that handles all national security functions of the department. Created by the 2005 USA Patriot Act reauthorization, the division consolidated all of the department's national security and intelligence functions into a single division. The division is headed by the Assistant Attorney General for National Security, John Demers. So I would assume that it would be him, but again, I could be wrong, and please correct me if I am. This is, there's a lot of information here tonight, and I may cut this off soon to get to the second one because we are nowhere near through just the posts from yesterday. But let's go ahead and finish this. Given magnitude of spy campaign, U.S. presidential election, Republican Party nominee, candidate plus president-elect plus President of the United States, would Hussein be required to direct order? Well, I would say probably, but can't confirm. I would assume yes, though, and I'll tell you why. Because how often would you have a spy campaign against a U.S. presidential election Republican Party nominee candidate or a president-elect or president of the United States? Because the spying took place during all of this, when he was just, the nominee, when he was the president-elect, and when he was the president. So would Hussein have been required to direct the order? Well, yes. I would assume yes. Now, I can't confirm that positively, but, just common sense says yes. How would updates occur? Now, what Q is saying here is, okay, the spying took place when Trump was a presidential election Republican Party nominee. Okay, Trump was, Hussein was still in power, so he would have been updated then. Once he was the president-elect, and once Trump was the president of the United States, well then, how would Hussein get updates? How was he getting updates? Well, somebody was leaking them from the presidential daily briefings. Right? Wouldn't that make sense? And it makes sense to me because Q is telling us that's what happened. Now, who has access to the presidential daily briefings? Well, let's see. Pompeo said that Trump is usually briefed in the presence of National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates, a professional briefer, a CIA officer, Vice President Mike Pence when he is in town, and Pompeo himself. The presidential briefings has not historically been a group activity, but this practice can pay significant dividends. For one thing, multiple participants hailing from different walks of life usually means multiple perspectives and avoidance of groupthink. Pompeo noted that at times Trump engages in a rambunctious back and forth with his national security team over intelligence in the report. This suggests that briefing participants are challenging each other on the intelligence, whether related to assumptions underpinning the assessments, the degree to which intelligence analysis comports with their personal views, relevance to the president's agenda, or other factors. That is a healthy phenomenon. At the end of the day, the intelligence is meant to produce sound policy making on priority issues, and that can happen only if it is discussed and evaluated among senior leadership. So, let me see here. That is at the president who has authority, or who has access to the president's daily briefings. Now, who would have leaked that? I don't know. But Q says on-site classified briefings, sitting room, Oval Office, PEOC, which stands for the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, and the NSC. Okay, so the Presidential Emergency Operations Center is a bunk-like structure that lies underground beneath the east wing of the White House and serves as a secure shelter and communication center for the President of the United States and other protectees in case of emergency. So he's saying on-site classified briefings, and he's naming the different rooms, or he's sitting room, Oval Office, PEOC, NSC. Well, you know, the PEOC is not really used for briefings. It is an emergency operations center. Now, let's go down here. The NSC, let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, the NSC, the agency executives are Donald Trump, President of the United States, Chairman Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, James Mattis, Secretary of Defense, Rick Perry, Secretary of Energy, and the parent agency is Executive Office of the President of the United States. The White House National Security Council, NSC, is the principal forum used by the President of the United States for consideration of national security, military matters, and foreign policy matters with senior national security advisors and cabinet officials, and is part of the Executive Office of the President of the United States. Since its inception under Harry S. Truman, the function of the council has been to advise and assist the president on national security and foreign policies. The council also serves as the president's principal arm for coordinating these policies among various government agencies. The council has counterparts in the national security councils of many other nations. How does a president use the PEOC? And that's the Presidential Emergency Operating Center. Well, use of it is rare. It's built to withstand nuclear weapons, and it's likely to be the president's evacuation point in the event of an incoming intercontinental ballistic missile, or invasion, terrorist attack, or any other kind of emergency. The main protocols of escape are highly classified. And this is from Q here, so we need to take a look at it. Obama moving to a second Oval Office. Is the president making way for a new underground command center? President Obama in the Oval Office in May 2011. Sources speculate that a new emergency bunker may be built underneath the White House. As part of a major 2-year overhaul of the West Wing, President Obama will move into a replica of the Oval Office, which will be located in the Eisenhower Executive Office building adjacent to the White House. Real Clear Politics, Alexis Simendinger, has the scoop this morning. She reports that the new Oval Office will be ready by August if the president is ready to move and if the design challenges are resolved. This week, fresh lumber and rebar are visible as walls rise out of the ground at 17th and State Streets, northwest of the southwest corner of the Executive Office building that began as home to the U.S. War Department in 1888. The small construction site, which is shrouded from view by a tall chain-link fence and forest green tarps, signals one of the preparatory phases for the eventual West Wing overhaul, according to sources familiar with the plan. My colleague, Carol Joint, first reported last year that the president would be relocating sometime in 2013. More intriguing still is why exactly the president is being relocated after all. For months now, the speculations among some of my sources has been that the White House is building a secure command and control facility underneath the existing structure. These people used to work in the White House in national security positions, and their informed speculation is that the president is going to get a state-of-the-art bunker from which he would be able to issue commands in a time of emergency, such as a terrorist attack on Washington. Current White House officials have been tight-lipped, and the official line is that all underground construction is for infrastructure repair. The existing White House bunker, the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, is not up to the task, my sources say. Many will remember what a difficult time Vice President Dick Cheney had on September 11, 2011, when, while holed up in the PEOC, he had trouble keeping in constant communication with President Bush, who was hopping around the country aboard Air Force One. The PEOC is a Cold War relic outfitted with some sleeping quarters and provisions for the president and a small number of staff, but it's not capable of serving as a modern command post. The White House Situation Room, which was renovated in 2007, would suffice as a presidential command center, but only if there is no surrounding threat to the president's safety, sources say. If the White House were physically damaged in an attack, or if the air outside were filled with chemicals, biological agents, or radioactive material, the president would have to shelter in place, perhaps for an extended period. In this regard, the physical location of the mysterious new structure is telling. Construction began in a deep pit in the front of the West Wing. It encompasses West Executive Avenue, which separates the White House from the adjacent Executive Office buildings. This proximity to the Oval Office suggests that the facility is designed for the president to be able to get there quickly. Presumably, if the White House were affected by an attack that made the outside air dangerous to breathe, the Secret Service would not want to evacuate the president by taking him outside. There is direct access to the colonnade and the Rose Garden from the Oval. Some speculate that since the Oval Office itself is being so significantly renovated, work could last for more than a year. The plan might be to install direct access from the Oval to the new underground structure bunker, a sort of emergency exit or trap door. I'm told by one former White House official that I'm told by one former White House official that there is a crawl space between the existing Oval Office, but that there's not, as yet, any way to evacuate the president without taking him out of the office itself, whether outside or through the West Wing. That could change. So, Q wanted us to see that. And let's go back. I'm not exactly sure why he wanted us to see that. So, not sure. What are your thoughts? Why do you think he's telling us all this? I mean, we know that they took extreme, pain in, bugging the White House before Trump even got there. And they had, things in place so that they could maintain control. That's what they wanted. They wanted to maintain control of the White House. And so we know that, but I'm not exactly sure what Q is getting at here. So let's continue. Could FISA warrants be issued active for numerous in the news now / future U.S. targets? Foreign tangent required to obtain warrant to spy on U.S. Original? Yes. So, okay, there has to be, they have to have reasons to, if they are spying on someone foreign who has ties to a foreign government or whatever, and it extends beyond that, they are able to with that one FISA warrant. So if they, with the Page warrant, they can spy on Trump because they're associated. I'm not really communicating this in the best manner possible. I know that we went over this a long time before, but I'm not able to put it into, because my mind is shutting down, unfortunately. So I'm not able to put it in the way that I want to put it, and perhaps one of you could put it more succinctly, but the answer is yes. Define projection. Well, we know what projection is, and we know that the left is definitely projecting onto the right. What is known? Connections, them, to Russia, other foreign assets. Who commands INSCOM? Well, this is INSCOM. And the current commander is Gary Johnson and Eric M. Schmitz. Who commands no such agency? Keith B. Alexander. Who has ultimate command? I would say the POTUS. I would say, or whoops, what am I doing? Either the POTUS or the National Security Division. So one or the other. It's one or the other. All right. Now, I know that Q will be hammering more of this, so anything that we've missed here, I am quite certain this is going to be coming up again. So, who commands no such agency? Keith B. Alexander. Who has ultimate command? POTUS, ultimately. And then it's signed off Q. So, let's go up here. This is a lot of heavy stuff, and I realize that, and so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break right here, and I will finish in my next video. I will finish at least August 28th. I doubt I'm going to get to August 29th today, so first thing tomorrow I will start working on the 29th and get that out, because I don't want to get behind. So let me stop there for now, because your mind is probably spinning, kind of like The Exorcist. I just hope you're not spitting pea soup. But anyway, I'll stop for there, and I hope that you guys have a good evening. Thank you for listening, and stay safe. I'll be back soon.